Now, if you're looking for other things to do, there's something called the Great Southwest Walk. It's a walking trail between Nelson and Portland. Along cliff tops, beaches, along the banks of the Glenelg River and through the forest. It was established by volunteers, and there are periodic camps about every 10 kilometres, so you can actually drive in and just walk a leg of it. And it's lovely in summer or winter. In winter you're in the bush and it's sheltered. Out at Mount Clay there's Brett Jarrett's Art Gallery. I'm not sure of the opening times. The Tourist Information Centre could probably tell you. It's a lovely spot to go. And the mouth of the river at Narrabong is also a good spot for a wander. Now you notice over there the dome of a lighthouse. That's one of two in the area. It wasn't always there. It used to be up on the bluff behind the silos, but at the end of the 1800s the colony thought it was going to be invaded and we needed some cannon. So they built a battery and rebuilt this one here. They never had to fire the cannon at the enemy, so volunteers got involved as they do, and they fired the cannon early last year to a very appreciative audience. They were helped out by the Port Fairy cannon crew, and they hope to do more firings. Apparently it's very costly to fire a cannon. You're going out to Bridgewater. On the way out, it's a fauna park with white kangaroos. If you do go out to Bridgewater, lovely cafe there. You can travel on out a bit further to the blowholes. Now the other lighthouse is out at Cape Nelson, and it's open for tours. I'm not sure of the times. The Tourist Information Centre possibly could tell you. It's just had a big paint job, so it's looking fantastic. But it was a bit of a building miracle. Where it had to be built, there was no stone nearby, and of course the stone has to be weathered already. And so they found the stone, and they had a village of 26 stonemasons. It took them a year to do it, but they decided they'd put the first ring of stones down where they were cutting them to make sure they fit. When they were happy, they lifted each stone more than a tonne into a trailer, pulled by horses, over the sand dune to the side. They were pretty tough back then. Now you'll see Lawrence Rock, the other side of that collapsed volcanic crater. It's got a big seal colony on it, and during the season it's got gannets, the lovely water birds. Now the gannets overflowed their population onto the mainland, and we've now got the only mainland rookery in the southern hemisphere. Now you'll see two big piles of wood chips. The wood chips are grown in plantations up to 200 kilometres to the northwest, and that's why we've got so many koalas. They've bred up in numbers in the blue gum plantations. Not their preferred food, but they eat it. When they chip or log the plantations, the koalas move back into the towns and decimate their natural food trees. Now they mostly go to Japan and China, and they all go for making paper. There's hardwood and softwood, but it's all paper, which is rather ironic because we import bales of paper pulp. Now the wood chips are chipped straight into waiting road train and B-double trucks, which have gone off-road to get into the mobile chipper. It takes about half an hour to fill the trailers, and then the drivers drive to the Port of Portland, and there's not one on the ramp. Isn't that unusual? They usually run on a Saturday. So the driver drives onto the ramp, operates the ramp, it goes up to almost 60 degrees, and the whole load shoots out the back onto a system of conveyors very quickly. And you could normally see that from the trawler wharf. Now there are two big dozers working on top of the wood chips as a rule. When there's a wood chip ship in, they work 24/7, and they push the chips towards the conveyor pickup. Now the logs used to all go to India, and India stopped taking to China, and China stopped taking our logs, and then India stepped in and they now take a lot of logs, which is wonderful. The ship you see side on is at the alumina wharf, so the big hopper is sucking the alumina out of the hold. It goes along that grey tube, which is a conveyor 3 kilometres out to the smelter, where it's made into ingots. The other import we have is pitch to reline the smelter pots. We also have components to make the wind farms, and fertiliser ingredients and paper pulp. We export a lot of grain, so wheat, canola and barley comes by road and rail. And we also export live cattle. They used to all go to the Indonesian meat market, but the last few shiploads have gone to China for a big undercover dairy program. Now the cattle go out to feedlots at Cape Nelson, where they're trained to eat pellets, and on the ship they eat pellets and a bit of compressed grain. And then they, of course, travel all the way to China, and they're in good condition when they arrive, because otherwise the Chinese will not accept them. So it's quite a varied port. With the grain, sometimes they'll start loading in Geelong or Melbourne, which is not as deep, and they'll come and they'll finish topping up here. So that ship you see that looks like a big cage, that's the cattle boat. So they'll be loading the cattle onto it at the moment. Now, this marina is a fairly new one. That was built for the recreational fishermen, and particularly for the tuna fishermen. The tuna fishermen started coming about 10 years ago, and they travel up to 7 hours to get to Portland, because unlike in the city, they could get 30 kilometres out to sea really quickly and start fishing. But back then we only had one boat ramp down here, and they were queued up waiting their turn all the way up to the hospital. So the Council built a beautiful new marina. Now, if there are a few trailers there, if you go down between 4 and 5:30, you'll see all the variety of fish being caught in the area. It's fascinating to watch. We've got another marina just here, the yacht marina, and at the entrance to the yacht marina are two barracuda boats, or cooter boats as they used to be called. Back in the 1950s, barracuda was a really popular fish. It's not anymore. And we had the beach just lined with wooden barracuda boats. But it went out of favour and the boats all rotted away. Fortunately, they saved two, and you can see them down there at the entrance to this marina. You'll also see, if you look down along the pontoon, all the beautiful marine plants. They're an indicator of a really clean environment, which is pretty lucky given it's an industrial port. And it attracts a lot of divers here. So people, recreational diving and people learning how to dive. Well, thank you for coming aboard. We hope you've enjoyed your travels. No worries. Oh, we've got a few hopping off, have we? Okay. All right. You're hopping off? All right, no worries. Enjoy your travels. You're hopping off too? Okay, no worries. Hang on, some of you haven't paid. Have you got cash? You can pay by cash here. So family, today you can, but the next one's full. The next one's fairly full, so that's an hour, but there's one after that. 1:45, trip 4 legs. So if I was you, do you want to go on the 1:45? If you want to go on the 1:45, I'll tell them there's 4. It's probably 4. No. We've had 2 legs of the Victorian bike ride here, and they love the Portland area because they like the rolling hills and the sea views. And as you probably know, they have 2 big areas where they set up their catering tent and all the little dome tents that the people sleep in. Second time they were here, council got them to set up their little sleeping tents all over these lawns. There was just little tents everywhere. It looked amazing. And imagine waking up to that view. Now in the botanical gardens, the garden crew plant lots and lots of dahlias, all shapes, colours and sizes. They're really beautiful. And they grow them for the Anzac Memorial display, the floral display. Our Anzac service is up here on what we call the cliff top. And prior to Anzac Day, volunteers go into the gardens and pick all the dahlias and lots of other foliage and take it to the Civic Hall where they have a community wreath making day, including all the schools, which is lots of fun. And then the dawn service standing up here with the sun rising behind the port is a fabulous view. We're very lucky. Now, from time to time, we have another animal come to town. It's a lion seal. They're the huge ones. There's one around town at the moment. It's been living out at Pivot Beach on the way to the smelter. But the visit before that, about 3 months before, it was coming into up the canal, which is the other side of the trawler wharf, and berthing on a bit of land beside the botanical gardens, much to the pleasure of all the onlookers. It didn't like being watched though. We'd like to thank you for coming on board the Tram today. Your patronage of the Tram helps keep it running. We've got an interesting display in the back of the depot, and there's some goodies in the front if you'd like to buy a gift or a souvenir to take away. Wherever you travel to next, have fun, keep safe.
Really?